Jill and I just did a free workout in the Thoughtfully Fit gym. And if you missed it and you had it on your calendar, but weren't able to make it, we wanted to give you a recap because today's workout is a big one. And it's about trust in the workplace. And how do you assess the trust in your working relationships? And how do you increase the trust or minimize the distrust in your relationships?
And trust is one of those issues that seems to come up in every relationship. It's really hard to work on communication, conflict resolution, teamwork, if there's not some foundation of trust there. And so what we looked at first is types of trust. How do you define trust? It's one of those words, right, Darcy? It's hard to explain what exactly trust is.
Yeah, although it's interesting because when we did the workout and we asked people, how do you define trust? There were definitely some themes that came through about really feeling safe in the relationship, feeling like someone's got your back, feeling somebody shared and said that I know that there's high trust when I know that they're going to do what they say that they're going to do. So it's one of those things like, you know it when you see it, or maybe you know it when it's not there, but it's hard to articulate it.
It can be very hard to articulate. And I love how you said that, Darcy. Sometimes it's more apparent when it's not there than when it is there. But that's one of the things that we try to do in the gym is try to put some language to some of these tough concepts. And actually one person in the gym said today, like, can you show these 4 types of trust again? Because it's helpful for me to be able to describe my team in this way. But looking real briefly at the 4 types of trust, the first one in no particular order is competence. Do you trust that the person knows what they're doing and that they're capable of performing the job, the task? Second one is consistency. Do they do what they say they're going to do on a consistent basis? Can you trust that that work is going to get done? The next one is motives, and this goes to this idea of safety and do they have your back? If a comment is made, can you trust their motives? And then the final one is integrity, that they do the right thing. And what's tricky about these types of trust is they're so open to interpretation, right? Looking at integrity, that they do the right thing. Well, how do you know what's the right thing? And, if somebody is focused more on a relationship than the specific task, does that mean that they're not doing the right thing? Or if somebody thinks that they're competent in their job, their boss thinks they're competent, but you don't think they're competent, it can create a lot of disagreement. And that's why we ground this workout in the thoughtfully fit practice of flexibility and stretching to accept. And when flexibility, Darcy, we've talked about this one before, this can be a tough one because it's like, well, what, you're just saying I should accept incompetence? You're saying I should accept somebody whose integrity that I don't believe in? That's not what we're saying, right?
Right, it's not. And it's interesting because the one example you gave is the difference you and I have in our work styles. And I like to work ahead of deadline and get things done well in advance. And you like to work to deadline and get that energy and that rush and adrenaline of the deadline. And there's not a right or a wrong. It's just a different style. And so the trust that we built in our relationship requires a lot of flexibility because I have to stretch to accept the fact that your style is different than mine. It's not worse than mine. It's not better than mine. It's just a different style. And then how do we build in the trust so that we can find the best way to work with each other given the differences?
So we looked at this idea of how do you assess trust? And one way that you can assess trust is this idea of an emotional bank account. This idea first came from Stephen Covey, and essentially this is a metaphor for the status of any given relationship. You can look at the status of your bank account in 2 different ways. The first one is what deposits are being made. And the list on the screen, definitely not all inclusive, but looking at this idea of quality time, taking responsibilities for mistakes, meeting expectations, showing appreciation in the different types of appreciation languages that came up in the workout today of quality time, words of affirmation, acts of kindness, looking at those different ways that you can contribute to a relationship. The flip side of that then is withdrawals. And withdrawals happen in a relationship. Sometimes tough feedback is given, and sometimes it's given in a way that feels even tougher than maybe you were intended. Sometimes people don't do what they say they wanted to do, whether it's, very rarely does somebody not do what they want to do maliciously because they're just trying to wreck your day. But it might be something else came up, and that's a withdrawal in the relationship because your request didn't get met. Interrupting, multitasking, these behaviors that, again, it might not have a negative intent, but can be seen that way. And then also disagreeing with an approach on its own is not necessarily a withdrawal. But when you disagree in a way that feels more like button heads as opposed to looking to how to solve the problem, those are definitely types of withdrawals.
Yep. And so what we're looking at is, in what we invited people to do in the workout is to bring this home, bring this close to home. Don't think about it sort of theoretically, but actually reflect on a colleague that you have. We're going to invite you right now. We won't go through the whole reflection phase, but we invite you to hit pause or to think about this after, a colleague that you have and somebody who you want to think about for this exercise right now.
So the first question is to consider your statement. If you look back, whether it's on the last week, the last month, whatever it might be, what have been the deposits and what have been the withdrawals?
And that's like your emotional bank account statement is what she's referring to here.
And so again, going to that metaphor, thinking about that emotional bank account relationship, what's the balance right now with that person that you have in mind? Do you have a surplus? Do you have a zero balance? Are you in the red? Maybe you're in the red by a lot. And whatever it is, this is a chance to be honest with yourself and to gain some self-awareness. And then from there, think about, what do you want to be different? If anything, maybe things are good and you want to maintain. Maybe things aren't so great and you need to make some deposits to start to get a little bit closer to the black. Bottom line is thinking about what can you do to make those deposits. And of course, one of the things that came up in the workout today is, well, what about if the other person doesn't want to make their own deposits? What if I feel like I'm constantly making the deposits? Of course, the other person definitely comes into play here. But as we often talk about in Thoughtfully Fit, what do you control? When it comes to making deposits, you always get to decide what types of deposits you want to make in any given relationship. So that was today's workout in the Thoughtfully Fit Gym of assessing trust in your workplace relationships. For gym members who missed the workout today, feel free to log into the Thoughtfully Fit Gym and check out the on-demand section. You can find the workout there. For everybody else who wants to check out the Thoughtfully Fit Gym, join us for our next free workout. We would absolutely love to see you. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you. We do 2 free workouts a month, so we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Take care.